Hello, Internet. I hope everyone is having a fantastic Tuesday evening. I decided to do a stream because there's too many issues that I haven't gotten to in the last two streams. I haven't talked about California at all. There's so many California shenanigans going on all the time, and I want to talk about how Gavin is turning this place into Gotham, especially places like Oakland, San Francisco, LA. And there's some horrific shit going on over in San Diego. Well, at the beaches of San Diego. Anywho, Wally World, nice to see you. Glad you could make it. Good to see you, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. Scarlett says hi. Here, come here. Come on, up. There you go. All right. Wally wanted to say hi. Okay. All right. Can you get down now? Okay. Why don't you go lay down? All right. All right, folks. What is new? If you're here, drop a comment in the chat. Say hi. If you got any questions, I'd love to try and answer them. And if you would be so nice, give the stream a thumbs up, whatever platform you listen to it on, Rumble, YouTube, subscribe, like, repost on X, leave a comment, all that good stuff. All right, we're going to get right into it, but a couple of things popped up that I want to talk about before I get into the California stuff. I'm going to try to keep this to like 10 or 15 minutes because I got at least 2 hours of California stuff to talk about. So first and foremost, this whole Real ID thing has been going on, and it's so funny. There's a lot of like back and forth about it. And to me, so the Real ID thing, I've been avoiding getting it for, well, since the last time I renewed my driver's license. And my driver's license will be expired in October of this year. So it's been 4 years, right? 4 years? 5 years? I think it's every 4 years you got to renew your driver's license. And the last time I renewed my driver's license, they asked me if I wanted to do the Real ID thing, and you have to present your birth certificate, social security card, and everything. And I couldn't really understand what it was for, so I was just like, no, I'll just get my regular ID. Then next thing you know, I go to purchase my first firearm way back when, and they're like, oh, you don't have a Real ID, so you got to show us your birth certificate in order to purchase a firearm. So that was kind of lame. So I just bring my birth certificate every time. And I just started looking into the Real ID, and then I realized that the federal thing on state IDs, and then I started learning all sorts of things about oh, no worries, Wally. I'm just glad you're here, dude. I started learning all these things about data aggregation and I talked about this a lot last stream about, Palantir and how companies can aggregate your data and they can sell them to whoever you want. Your location data, your purchase history, things you've said on the internet, all these things. They can collect it and they can sell it to other companies or even federal agencies. And your ID has a barcode on the back of it. And okay, yeah, maybe I'm getting tinfoily here, but I don't want to give the government any more capabilities to create a profile on me or anybody else. So imagine you get pulled over by a cop and they go and they scan your Real ID, that barcode, and they say, oh, looks like you said some, and say the government aggregates all this data and they feed it into Palantir and it creates a profile on you, and then that's attached to your Real ID at some point. All your stuff, all your locations, your purchases, how many firearms you own, when you bought them, your friends, contacts, associations, IP addresses, nasty things you might have said on the internet, maybe about cops, and they scan your ID and then this whole profile pops up on you. Same thing when you go to the airport. Anybody that scans your ID. So that's kind of why I've been against it, because it gives the government more capability to create a profile on you. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do everything I can to not do it. And I have to travel for work, like somewhat often. And I actually was supposed to go to Denver this week. And I told my boss, like, hey, I haven't got the Real ID. I don't have my passport yet either. I'm in the process of getting my passport. They canceled it. They didn't let me go. And then they asked me, they wanted me to go to San Diego this Friday, and couldn't go there either. Well, the funny thing is, and so anyway, the backlash, this time it's on the right. Everybody's saying like, I have no sympathy for people that haven't gotten their Real ID yet. It's been 20 years. They could have taken any time. They could have done it at any time, and this and that, and other people saying it's so easy. You're just like lazy if you haven't gotten your Real ID. It's like, no, some of us have actual reasons why we don't want to get it. Whether you find those reasons legitimate or not doesn't really pertain to you. I don't really give a shit what you think, if you think my opinions are legitimate or not for not getting the Real ID. Point is, I don't want to get it. The government's trying to force me to get it. And I don't think it's going to help secure voting at all. So all those things aside, I decided not to get it. And the arguments that I'm hearing are, to me, the arguments for getting the real ID are very similar to the arguments that were made about, like, just wear a mask. It's not that big of a deal. Is it really such an inconvenience? That kind of thing. Oh, just get the vaccine. It's safe and effective. I'm not saying obviously the real ID is the same thing as forcing an injection into your body, but the arguments for it are the same. That's what I'm noticing anyway. Tell me how I'm wrong. Maddie Bracco, nice to see you. That company is scary. Straight up China's social engineering, social scoring system, Palantir. Yeah, it's well, if you watch my last stream towards the end, you can see they're much more heavily associated with Israel than they are with China. So make of that what you will. They got an office in Tel Aviv, and yeah, so that's something. Anyway, the real ID shit, which, like Matty Bracco points out, I mean, if they used Palantir to aggregate data and create a profile on you and attach it to your real ID, all they got to do is scan a barcode. All this stuff pops up. I don't want that. Anyway, let's play this right now. This is just funny. And I kind of knew this was going to happen because there's so many people that don't have it yet. And so many people have to travel for work or obviously other reasons. And this is going to cause chaos. If they implemented it on the 7th, like they said they were, it's going to cause absolute chaos. So this came out today. This is from KTVU Fox 2. I guess you don't need the real ID to travel. I don't know if you guys heard this yet, and I haven't seen this reported a lot. People are still talking about how, oh, you're going to get stranded because you're lazy, because you didn't want to get the real ID, all that kind of shit. You're not going to be able to fly. Tough nuts for you, all that kind of shit. Well, turns out, I guess you don't need it after all.
It's a deadline to get a real ID. That's a federally compliant driver's license designed to meet national security standards for domestic air travel. Well, the feds were supposed to enforce restrictions beginning tomorrow, but KTVU reporter Jesse Gary, he is live at the DMV office in Fremont with more on the new developments and how the crush of applications and appointments is proceeding. Good morning to you, Jesse.
Andre, good morning to you. And Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announcing just minutes ago tomorrow's deadline is not a deadline after all.
Oh.
People who do not have the real ID will still be allowed to travel by air without having that card, although she says you will have to go through extra added steps of security.
So this probably means that all the people with real ID that don't have real ID when they go to travel, this means you're going to go put aside by the TSA and they're going to aggressively backhand your dick. Like, I don't know if that's happened to you guys. It's happened to me once, and I was shocked. I was shocked, folks. And what makes it, why do they backhand your dick instead of forehanding your dick? I mean, is the backhand less gay? Is it less gay if TSA backhands my dick? And it's somehow more gay if they front hand my dick? Is it less invasive? I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna aggressively wave your hand over my penis, then you just might as well go for it, bro. Because you already cupped my balls, all that kind of shit. So I imagine people that don't have a real ID and they go to travel, they're going to be subjected to TSA backhanding of your penis.
We'll try to make it seamless, but you can still travel even though you don't have your real ID tomorrow. Water relief for people who've been scrambling to.
Donald Foster, depends on how slowly they do it. Yeah, and if they look you in the eye or not when they're doing it. Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. Northside, nice to see you. Sorry, I'll let them keep playing. But you guys get the point. Real ID, don't need it to travel. They were lying. It was big freaking pump fake.
Get their real ID by today. As a matter of fact, we talked to some people who jumped through the hoops and actually got their real IDs this morning.
You have to come early, yeah, because you can't do an appointment, because the first appointment that I checked was like mid-June, late June, and I checked all the DMVs around, and so I was like, I have to show up early.
It wasn't that much of a headache if you come early before they open. So we got in and got out. So we're good.
Select DMV offices such as this one opened an hour early today to handle the crush of appointments as people try to get their real IDs today, believing the deadline was tomorrow. The federal government announcing minutes ago it will not be enforcing the need for real ID or a passport or other federal documents to board an airplane in this country. The push for this new form of identification follows the 9/11 attacks when the Real ID Act of 2005 was passed, mandating the use of enhanced IDs for air travel. But its implementation has been delayed repeatedly and has been delayed again.
I have a feeling that they are delaying it because you can't require extra things to travel domestically. I think they have some lawyers advising the federal government that like you can't really do this. You can't really force people, and if you don't allow them to fly, you're going to have some lawsuits on your hands. I don't know. That's what I think. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, they heard it there. Kristi Noem came out and said you don't need a real ID to fly. North side, front hand is for perverts, backhand is for security. Yeah, I feel like they're both for perverts. You guys seen the "It's not gay if it's TSA" shirt? I need to get one of those and wear it next time I go to the airport. Wally World, the lines at my local DMV have been scary, at least for a month. Yeah, I can see that. I never make an appointment when I go to the DMV. I always just show up early or towards the very end of the day, and usually you can get in relatively quickly. I go to the Los Gatos DMV. That one always seems to be the least busy from my experience. Los Gatos, California.
First-time applicants must apply in person, even if you already have a California driver's license. The California DMV director says certain officers were chosen to open extra hours to try and reduce the crush of applications.
We looked at where there was an influx of people that were trying to get their real IDs, and we tried to cater to that audience by making sure that those offices had longer hours, both during the week, an extra hour are open in the morning, as well as where there's selected Saturday targets where we would want to make sure we increase capacity there as well. Not always at the same locations, but we did the best we could to serve the audience that are trying to get a real ID.
Real IDs differ from the standard driver's license. For example, there's a golden bear with a star in the upper right-hand corner of the real ID.
So did you guys see
in the Bay Area with extended right-hand corner of the real ID?
Saturday targets where we would want to make sure we increase capacity there as well. Not always at the same locations, but we did the best we could to serve the audience that are trying to get a real ID.
So you guys see, this is what my ID says right there on the. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger so you guys can see this properly. There. So you see how it says federal limits apply? That's what mine says. And then everybody else has the California bear with a star on its ass. So that's the difference. And mine, federal limits apply. So I got to show my birth certificate when I buy a freaking firearm or even ammo. It's so lame. So freaking lame. Anyway.
Real IDs differ from the standard driver's license. For example, there's a golden bear with a star in the upper right-hand corner of the real ID. Offices in the Bay Area with extended hours through June 27th include the ones on your screen, one in Pleasanton and here in Fremont. They open at 7 o'clock on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. You'll need to complete the form before coming and bring a form of ID such as a passport, social security card, or W-2 form to prove your identity. Again, the headline of the...
See, the weird thing that I don't get is if you already have a passport, why get the real ID? Like you could travel. They even said, so even if it did go into effect on, what was that, Thursday, then if you had a passport, it's fine. That worked. You just need to show your passport when you travel domestically. Even though I feel like you shouldn't have to do that, and there could be a big stink made about that as well. But if you already have your passport, why would you get a real ID? There's no incentive to.
Our Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announcing just a short time ago that if you are traveling tomorrow and you do not have your real ID, you will not need it, although there will be added steps you have to go through, but you don't need it. So the deadline...
Added steps. Aggressively backhanding your penis is what TSA will do to you.
Line that's been pushed back has been pushed back yet again. We're live in Fremont this morning. Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News. Andre Garcia-Sal will head back up the freeway to you in Oakland.
Jesse, thank you.
Well, there it is. There you have it, folks. You do not need a real ID to travel. They were lying. I bet they knew they were lying the whole freaking time, and they lied anyway. I bet that's what happened. Just saying. So let's in here trying to get through as fast as possible. We got California stuff to talk about. So let's go over to Leo Kearse over on X and see what he has to say. Well, tomorrow I just don't want to show the video that he shared. So I don't know if you guys heard, but India is bombing Pakistan. So that's happening. India is bombing Pakistan, and I'm sure you already heard Yemen no longer. Israel blew that up. Yep, they bombed it with like 50 bombs. So this is some footage coming out of where is this? This footage coming out of Pakistan. So Pakistani airport. Is, I don't know where this is kind of a big place, but this is some of the footage that's coming out of there. So yeah, that's happening. And also, apparently, this is from Alex Jones. He says this is sorry, let me see really quick. So India has shot down a Pakistani JF-17 fighter jet over Pakistan 2 hours ago. This war is escalating fast, he says. So let's watch this video of a fighter jet getting shot down. So wars are escalating, and this comes after Trump said earlier today that this from Kaneko the Great, awesome account to follow over on X. It says breaking: President Trump announces that the Houthis in Yemen have capitulated, and the U.S. will stop bombing them immediately. Houthis, even though we don't have congressional approval to bomb Yemen, so yeah. Oh boy, hope my internet out on you guys. You guys, can you hear me still? My seem to be cutting out over on my end. Again, I live in the mountains, far into the sticks, and my internet sucks out here. It's really bad. I'm hoping to get that resolved in the next few months here. The Houthis have announced they've to us at least that they don't want to fight anymore. They've capitulated. We will take their world. It's so hard to read Trump quotes because he's just so all over the place. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis effective immediately. So that's what Donald Trump said earlier. Let's listen to him say it.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated. But more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that. So I think that's very, very positive. They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas. It wasn't just the canal. It was a lot of other places. And I will accept their word. And we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis. Effective immediately. And Marco, you'll let everybody know that.
He says the Houthis, like not TH, like Houthis and the Blowfish. We're going to stop bombing the Houthis and the Blowfish. So shortly after Donald Trump said that, I believe this was after Israel blew up Yemen's airport. So it's like, okay, I guess we're going to stop bombing the Houthis. Doesn't mean Israel's going to. So this is some footage coming out of Yemen at Yemen's international airport. I believe that's their one airport. So this is what it looks like. It's funny though, because there's a bunch of videos coming out of Yemen where it's like kids are still playing soccer. Nobody seems to give a shit. Like nobody seems to be panicking at all. Like if a U.S. airport was bombed, people would be losing their mind and freaking out and crying. There'd be panic everywhere. There's kids out like 5 miles away playing soccer. All right, you guys get the picture. And this comes a couple of days after a Houthi rocket made its way past the Iron Dome somehow and landed in a obscure area. I think it was even outside of the Tel Aviv airport. Is it Tel Aviv? I believe it was the Tel Aviv airport, obviously in Israel. 8 people were allegedly hurt. Nobody died. I don't think any planes blew up or anything like that. I don't even think it caused any damage really to the airport. I'm not saying they let the rocket come in so they would, have it as an excuse to bomb the shit out of Yemen. But, Benjamin Netanyahu comes out and says, we will return fire and, strike Yemen or strike the Houthis at a date and time of our choosing. Well, I guess that date and time was today. So, yep, that happened. So India is bombing Pakistan. I imagine Pakistan is going to do some things back, and Israel is bombing Yemen. So, yep, that's going on. All right, that's all I want to talk about that stuff. We're going to close that out, and we're going to get on to some California stuff because I haven't talked about freaking California in like 2 weeks, and that's kind of what this show's about. So there's the biggest thing I want to talk about is the beaches situation here in California. Primarily Southern California. I don't think it's made its way up to the Central Coast or much past probably like Oxnard. I don't even think it's made its way up to Santa Barbara, but everything south of, let's just say Santa Barbara is, I would not want to be going in the ocean right now. I would not want to be going in the ocean right now at all. And there's 2 reasons. I don't know if you guys know this, but Mexico has been dumping raw sewage into the ocean for years, and it goes right into the San Diego oceans, and that sort of makes its way up to the LA area, Orange County, like Huntington Beach area, and then you have these Palisades fires, and there's a bunch of rain after the Palisades fire, and every time it rains, there's just toxic sludge that goes into the ocean. And it's wreaking havoc on Southern California beaches right now. And let's take a look. Let's look at it. So it's 2 things. It's the Palisades fire and the toxic sewage situation, which to me, that's like a national security issue, and Trump should be hammering Mexico about that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. Let's go over to Kevin Dalton. This just shows like what's happening to some of the wildlife on Southern California beaches right now. This is if you guys don't know like where the Palisades fires were, they went from the beach all the way up to the tops of those mountain ridges right there. Parts of Malibu burned, and all of that stuff. It's mountain ranges and hills that just slope right down to the ocean. So everything that was up there, all the electric cars that got burned, batteries, septic tanks that are leaking, all sorts of different things are just pouring right into the ocean. And seals like the beach, they like the piers and like things that are right up against the coast. Well, they're getting hammered.
Look at where this animal is.
It's a pitiful sight. A sick sea lion stranded in fire debris.
This is why it's so important to clean this up.
Harris Silver found the animal struggling on the littered beach where the Palisades fire burned down these beachfront Malibu homes. Since then, little has been done to contain the runoff.
That's an open septic tank 2.5 months after the fire.
Feet from the ocean.
Feet from the ocean.
You should absolutely not touch this stuff with your bare hands.
Tracy Quinn is CEO of Heal the Bay, a nonprofit that recently tested the water.
What sort of toxins are you finding out there?
We're seeing a lot of heavy metals. That debris is still sitting there within the high tide line. So every day the ocean is washing up and lapping those contaminants into the sea.
At the same time, there's a dramatic rise in the number of sick animals washing up on the shores of Southern California.
There's a sick animal over on the other side.
We rode with a rescue team to capture a sick sea lion.
Once we put the net around her, she might wiggle around.
And take her to the Marine Mammal Care Center for treatment. There are so many animals here, they've built enclosures in the parking lot.
Every day that we come in, there's at least one of these animals that has passed away overnight.
John Warner leads the nonprofit and says the animals are eating fish that consumed an algae with a toxin called domoic acid.
It's a neurological toxin. It affects their brains. They're having seizures, completely disoriented.
Algae with domoic acid is sometimes called a red tide.
Look at this. You guys see that? You can see the separation of the blue water and the red water. So this is this toxic algae bloom that they're talking about.
It existed before the fires, but biologists suspect windstorms that fueled the flames also stirred up sediment in the ocean. That, along with the nutrient-rich runoff, is feeding the algae.
Whether it be with a fire or just organic waste flowing into the ocean, those all contribute to the size, scale, intensity of these blooms. And we believe there's a direct correlation to the toxicity levels in the algae itself. They're at a high level during this particular bloom.
And the hazardous contaminants from the fire debris could cause even more long-term problems.
We're going to see a lot of the animals that are lower on the food chain consuming a lot of those heavy metals. And then as those get consumed by larger fish in the sea, that will accumulate throughout the food chain.
Something that could eventually impact people eating locally caught seafood. Carter Evans, CBS News, Los Angeles.
So this has been, this toxic bloom, the algae that they're talking about, that has been happening for years. And local Southern Californians know not to go surfing or go swimming in the ocean after rain because you get sick. It's way worse now because you got, the sewage coming in from Mexico. What's funny is the news isn't really talking so much about that. There's not a lot of people talking about the actual sewage being dumped into California from Mexico, but they are talking about this at least. But I feel like they should be reporting on the toxic sewage situation even more. So this is from KTLA, the propaganda arm of the California Democratic Party. Says officials announced temporary closures of Huntington Beach and Newport Beach coastal water area due to a 4,000-gallon sewage spill in Orange County. So that's on top of this 4,000-gallon sewage spill. And San Francisco has to deal with this stuff too, especially after rains in San Francisco. Out in Ocean Beach, they closed down Ocean Beach for a while, a couple of years ago, maybe last year. And all of these, it's funny. They call the fentanyl needles where they hand them out. They call them needle exchange programs, even though because you're supposed to turn in one syringe and they'll give you a new fresh syringe. That never happens. They just go around handing out fentanyl needles, and the idea is so people won't spread disease. That's why they hand out the needles and everything. So what's the reason why you guys hand out crack pipes? What diseases get spread when people are sharing crack pipes? That there doesn't seem to be a reason for you guys to hand out crack pipes just so people can do crack, all funded by your taxpayer dollars. But anyway, all those fentanyl needles and human feces on the sidewalk and shit, all that stuff gets freaking washed into the ocean in San Francisco. When in Venice Beach places too, that have a high homeless population, all of their waste, everything on the streets, all gets washed right into the ocean. So we'll keep going here. This is from Amy Reichard. This is her talking about the Tijuana situation, them dumping the raw sewage into California. So check it out. So this is a map. It shows the ocean currents, right? So here's Mexico down here. I hope that's not too loud for you guys because it's pretty loud for me when I play it. So the sewage, Mexico dumps it, and it flows all the way up to like Coronado, and then the currents bring it back down, and it makes like this big whirlpool of human sewage, all like right in this bay right here, and it's no good. See that? So it goes up the beach line here, and then it hits this point, and the currents kind of bring it back down, and it just creates this sludge in the bay. And these are supposed to be pristine California beaches. Why people all over the world want to come here. San Diego, one of the most beautiful places in California. Even though I've never been to San Diego, could have went there on Friday. Yep, sewage all over the place. So this is Supervisor Jim Desmond out of San Diego, and he's been talking a lot about this situation. He's been he's the only one talking about it a lot. And this is I believe he's in Mexico here, and he's showing us like the river of shit that gets dumped into our oceans.
Hey folks, where I'm at right now is on the bridge that goes over the Tijuana River, this huge culvert that emanates from Tijuana and dumps into the United States here. On the left is the U.S. Tijuana border. To the right is the United States of America, with this culvert just dumping in to the United States, full of sewage, garbage, chemicals, dirty water, polluting our country. Hey, folks.
So here's another video from him in the same area. Let's go back over to Jim Desmond again. He says, update from the Tijuana River. Sewage and garbage continue to pour into the United States, polluting our waters and endangering public health. Good news, more people are paying attention. Bad news, Mexico is still dumping sewage into our country. This is unacceptable. We must keep fighting to hold Mexico accountable and protect our communities. Like, why are they dumping raw sewage into the ocean anyway? Even if it was going to stay in their country, like this is the ocean. What are you doing? This is freaking horrible. Like, it's awful. So it's another video from Jim Desmond. It's a little bit longer.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond, and I'm here at the Tijuana River border, where it crosses from Mexico, across underneath that bridge. It crosses from Mexico here into the U.S. I'm on the U.S. side right now. As we can see, the water / sewage is flowing right now, pretty strong. The side of the river here is filled with tires. We can see a lot of garbage and other types of things that accumulate here on the U.S. side and get clogged up here in our system. And this polluted water actually comes across the border and goes into our estuary here, just south of Imperial Beach, and then eventually makes its way to the ocean, polluting our waterways, polluting our estuary, polluting the ocean, to the point where Imperial Beach has been closed for over 1,000 days. This is a health issue. This is a huge health and safety issue for us here in the United States. People in Mexico, their sewage system can't always handle what they produce. They end up putting it in this huge viaduct. This viaduct's got to be at least 200 feet across, a cement viaduct. It runs for 13 miles into Tijuana. And basically people, unfortunately, can freely put whatever garbage and trash and sewage into it, and it ends up here, and then in our waterways and in our ocean. The federal government, we need to do something about this. This is an international border where we're ending up with the sewage of Tijuana here in the U.S. polluting our waterways. You know, this is detrimental on our businesses here, particularly in Imperial Beach and South County and Chula Vista and Imperial Beach. This is detrimental to our health and safety. I know the county has given out air fresheners or air purifiers, but for this onslaught of sewage coming into our country, just running constantly, is detrimental to our health and safety of San Diego County.
And obviously, it's not helping with that toxic algae bloom, even though that seems to be more primarily to do with the runoff from the fires. So there's that. We'll keep going. This is from Libs of TikTok. She's got a video. She's got a better video of like when they turn on the shit pumps or whatever. This is from Libs of TikTok. She says Mexico has been dumping millions of gallons of raw sewage into the United States for decades. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin said he's visiting the area in the coming weeks to demand permanent solutions, which Mexico must implement. So that's, it's good. It's getting national attention. Libs of TikTok has a national platform, and thank you, Shia. Thank you for bringing some attention to this. Much appreciated. This is also from Jim Desmond that she's reposting, but you guys can see how substantial this is. This is clearly not just fresh water. This is wastewater straight out of the sewers. I bet it smells terrific. Right under the bridge. So there you go. There you have it. Mexico sending everything they don't want over the border. Yeah, it's freaking pretty unbelievable if you ask me. So let's keep going here. Sorry, my cursor is acting up. All right, so this is from Amy Reichert. She says, why has Tijuana sewage crisis worsened over the last 5 years? Biden and Mexico. In 2020, Biden decommissioned the Trump pumps, resulting in a 22 billion gallons of sewage dumped into the U.S. every year. So let's see. Hopefully they talk a little bit about the Trump pumps here. So it sounds like Trump was already on top of this. So maybe we can get back on top of it. Are those just like raw turds floating in the ocean there? That's so gross.
Why has the sewage crisis in San Diego gotten worse in the past 5 years? There are two main reasons that have caused 22 billion gallons of sewage to flow into the United States annually since 2020. First is the 2020 Biden SB 507 bill, which decommissioned pumps and lift stations and allowed sewage to flow into the United States via the Tijuana River Valley. The second is a pipe break by Mexico in August 2022 from their Viaduct Toll Road project. This led to Mexico's sewage instead being pumped 10 miles south to free-flowing into the United States by the millions of gallons daily. This has led to over 1,000+ days of beach closures, our communities being exposed daily to harmful chemicals and toxins, no access to public lands, and no answers from the government. Where is our government's Environmental Protection Agency when we need them?
And ironically, these are the same beaches that you see freaking illegal immigrants like marooning or beaching vessels and then coming off by the dozens and just running straight into our country. I mean, imagine going to San Diego and the first thing you want to do is go to the beach and have a good time, sit on one of these nice pristine beaches and, you know, go in the water because it's nice warm water down there, not like up here in Northern California where the water's freaking freezing even during summer. And you can't, because the beaches are either closed or you're not allowed to go in the water because you'll get covered in human shit and piss and chemicals and whatever else is coming through that viaduct or whatever they called it. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great at all, you guys. Let's keep going. Let's go over to Channel 7 Eyewitness News, and they're reporting about this too. So there's whales in Long Beach, Huntington Beach both died of domoic acid, research says. So that's the same toxic algae bloom that they were talking about earlier because of the Palisades fires. So let's see what they have to say here. So it looks like animals are dying. They're not just getting sick, they're dying. Oops, sorry, I got it muted.
Including an unprecedented toxic algae bloom is killing hundreds of marine animals, including an unprecedented number of dolphins along our coast. This is the fourth year of this toxic bloom, and experts say this is the worst one yet. As Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter explains, researchers are sounding the alarm.
So why 4 years? Like, what happened 4 years ago? I'm not going to blame, you can't really blame COVID, even though we want to, but why has this only been happening for 4 years? What changed? You guys, if you guys are in Southern California and you have any idea of why this started happening 4 years ago and it's been an ongoing problem, please let me know, because I'm sort of stumped. Why did this start 4 years ago? Maybe they'll say it in the video.
It looks like the ocean is on fire. All of the red here on this map from Southern California Coastal Ocean Observing System shows the amount of domoic acid at the center of the toxic algae bloom now engulfing all of our coast here and killing a growing number of animals.
Oh no, this poor baby.
It's a heartbreaking scene playing on repeat all along the Southern California coast as dozens of dolphins are dying due to the toxic algae bloom now stretching from San Diego to San Luis Obispo.
It's the worst we've ever seen here in Southern California on many different fronts, but dolphin strandings, it's unprecedented.
This is how we love to see the treasured creatures in massive stampedes. But in the last week, there have been more than 50 dead and dying dolphins found along the LA County coast, 16 in San Diego on Sunday alone.
It has really been consistently severe. I mean, the number of animals coming up on the beaches, either with seizures or dead or dying, has continued at a pretty high rate.
Sea lions are traditionally the main victims of a toxic algae bloom, which can cause them to turn aggressive, attacking beachgoers. But now it's moving further up the food chain. Researchers say the minke whale found in the port of Long Beach and a young gray whale in Huntington Beach both died due to domoic acid toxicity.
It is a natural phenomenon that happens because of offshore winds, cold water upwelling, but it can be fed and sort of put on steroids by the things that we're doing.
Debris from the wildfires and fertilizer runoff helping to fuel the toxic algae, which is eaten by small fish, which are then eaten by marine mammals and birds, causing a potentially deadly toxic overdose.
You know what? In 2020, I don't think they had massive fires in 2020 like we did, or in Southern California like we did up here in Northern California, but they might have. And you guys that are in Southern California that are watching, let me know, were there massive fires in 2020 in Southern California? Because up here, we had this crazy dry lightning storm that was like, I mean, it was all the way from, you know, like probably 100 miles, it was like Santa Rosa, Napa, all the way down to like the foothills behind San Jose, like Mount Hamilton area, like Henry Coast State Park, the whole thing burned. And then up here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and you locals know it was hectic up here. All of Big Basin burned down. I mean, to put it in perspective, the amount of acreage that burned down just in the Santa Cruz Mountains during those 2020 fires was like twice as much as the acreage that burned in the Palisades fires. It was insane. It's just, you know, it's a completely different topography. It's a really dense redwood forest, and you're not getting trucks in and out of there to fight the fires. And the winds, it was perfect conditions. We had weeks and weeks and weeks of like 90 to 100-degree temperatures. We didn't get a lot of rain that winter, and the dry lightning happened, and then it got super hot and super windy. It was just a horrific situation, and helicopters couldn't fly above, planes couldn't fly above and drop water. So it got really out of control really fast. I have tons of footage from it. If you guys go to my Instagram, it's go all the way back to August of 2020. Me and this dude that works at Masood's Deli in Ben Lomond were like the last two to leave town, and it was wild. It was insane. There was like nobody here but cops, news stations, and me and Sergio just chilling. It was weird, but that could be what's contributing to this is all those wildfires. Because when wildfires happen, you know, propane tanks blow up, houses burn to the ground, septic tanks rot out, and all that shit runs down the mountain and ultimately ends up in creeks, and then those creeks dump into rivers that dump out into the ocean. So maybe that's why this all started 4 years ago, but that's what I'm trying to figure out is how did all this stuff start 4 years ago, and why is it getting worse?
While sea lions and birds can be saved, it is 100% fatal for dolphins.
We know these populations are resilient and strong and can bounce back from things like this.
At this point, experts say they see little hope of immediate relief given how widespread, as you can see, and well-fed the algae bloom is. Leanne Suter, ABC 7.
She said
New at 9 a.m., wild video out of Lake Havasu showing a boat.
She said experts say. I usually don't trust people when they say experts say. So just a couple more videos on this situation, because I believe this deserves a lot of time to be talked about. This is a huge environmental issue, and for some reason you don't hear liberals talking about it. You hear them all talking about climate change and this and that. This is like something that's always bothered me, and I've always had trouble making sense of it. Is there's so much. It's like the level of narcissism that it takes to think that California alone can help solve the climate crisis, solve the worldwide climate crisis by mandating oil refineries have different fuel mixtures here, which ultimately leads to refinery shutdowns and refineries moving out of California, increased prices on gas, and then mandating everybody has that no new internal combustion engine vehicles can be sold past 2035. Everybody has to go electric. We're trying to force all these policies, but we can't take care of our own beaches and our own watersheds. So, like, how do you compute that? How can you be so arrogant to think that you, as a single state, granted we are a very large state, can from using top-down government solve environmental problems, the biggest environmental problem they claim that we have, climate change, and at the same time not be able to address any of the direct and immediate environmental problems that are plaguing your state. How can you have that audacity? It's so on its face hypocritical, and it drives me insane because, I mean, whatever California mandates, it's not going to offset what China's doing, you know? And we had two nuclear plants in California. They shut down one. They're going to shut down the Diablo plant. But like, if they shut down that nuclear, maybe that's the one that they shut down. I think we only got one left here in California. We should be looking into, and Californians do not want to hear this, but we haven't had a new nuclear power station built since what, the 70s? I feel like in the last 50 years, we've made a lot of advancements on how to do nuclear safely. Maybe smaller plants, but smaller plants. I don't know. I'm a nuclear advocate. We should have, and we're a coastal state, so like that makes building nuclear a lot easier in a coastal state because for reasons. But we are so rich on natural gas, hydrothermal. Like we should be using natural gas. We should be using hydrothermal. We should be using nuclear. Instead, they're trying to do all these crazy offshore wind projects, which are also just going to hurt our beaches and hurt ocean wildlife. It's all freaking fake and gay. All of it. They say they're doing it for climate change, but they're having immediate and direct impacts on our environment. They call themselves environmentalists. They're not. I'm an environmentalist. I hate that we allow, here in Santa Cruz, we got homeless all up and down the San Lorenzo River. If you guys know, like West Side Santa Cruz, across from Trader Joe's, there's always freaking homeless encampments all up and down the levee right there. And they go down to the riverbanks and they shoot up drugs, do crack, do fentanyl, and they leave all their shit just right there. And then when it rains, the river swells up and it washes all that shit into the ocean. We have steelhead trout here, endangered steelhead trout, and we can't even take care of that. Like, these are the direct things that we should be trying, that we could have an actual impact on, cleaning up our watersheds, protecting steelhead trout and other wildlife. But we don't do that. And then we have the audacity to think that we could solve global climate. It's all fake. It's all a scam to get more money. This offshore wind project is going to dwarf the California high-speed rail, by the way. All right, let's keep going with this toxic bloom that's happening in Southern California.
Both, fishing and shellfish gathering have both been popular pastimes out here at the Malibu Pier for generations. But this morning, a major warning here, not to eat mussels, clams, or oysters caught recreationally. This comes as a statewide quarantine is now in effect after a spike in sea animal deaths linked to toxic algae. California health officials have issued this statewide quarantine on recreationally harvested mussels and an expanded advisory warning against sport harvested clams, scallops, and oysters from Santa Barbara to San Diego due to dangerous toxins. According to health officials, the threat is not coming from restaurants, but from beaches like this, where foragers gather shellfish for personal use or even to sell at farmers markets. Again, to be clear, commercially sold shellfish from certified sources is considered safe, according to this warning, but the danger lies in that naturally occurring toxin like domoic acid that builds up in wild shellfish, enters the food chain, and then cannot be cooked out.
Produces a neurotoxin called domoic acid, which enters the food chain through small fish, and the sea lions eat the fish. It also affects birds too, so the birds that eat those fish that ingest the toxin can also be affected. And then once it builds up in their system, they can start to have neurologic signs.
The toxins are blamed for a growing number of animal deaths, including sea lions and at least 2 whales, one of them a gray whale found dead in Huntington Beach. The same neurotoxins believed to be harming marine life could cause severe or even fatal illness in people, including a condition called paralytic shellfish poisoning.
If you get a big dose, like you eat a lot of this kind of shellfish, it could be more severe and causes what's called amnestic shellfish poisoning, and that word amnestic has to do with memory. So if you get a big dose, it can cause more severe neurologic problems like short-term memory loss, even coma and death.
So great. All the food, the abundance of food that we have available if you live in the coastal areas, can't eat it now. Can't go fishing right off the coast and, catch a fish, catch a tuna and bring it home and eat it. Shellfish, oysters. Can't go scavenge those now and bring them home and have a meal that you caught yourself. I mean, that should be part of the whole California dream. Can't do it anymore because we are allowing this to happen. I haven't seen anybody present a solution yet either, and that's sort of discouraging. Let's keep going. Let's go over to Kevin Dalton. This is the last video, and it's just a quick video showing what the waves crashing onto the beaches look like. This is just gross, you guys. It's all bad. I mean, would you want to go swimming in this right here? I don't think you would.
This is our new normal. For the last 3 months, every time it rains, this is what we get in LA County. Our beautiful paradise blonde beaches are no more. Every time it rains, we get a fresh restock of toxic runoff from the Palisades and Eden fire. It wasn't cleaned up. It's still toxic. It's bad for the animals. It's bad for people.
We need a change here in California, folks. Scarlett, what are you doing? Oh, she sees her best friend down there. The people in power that have been in power in California for the last 20 years have claimed to be all about the environment. That's what these people claim to be. And the environment has gotten worse and worse and worse year after year. And we can't allow them to keep doing this. We need a change, folks. And we need it now, immediately. We need lots of people to come into the California government, even though I wish the California government just didn't exist at all. But we need people to present policy ideas that are actually going to solve problems and not just make our environment worse, make our daily lives worse, and make everything more expensive. It's becoming unlivable in California. A lot of people have already left. I don't want to, and I'm in a position where I could still stay. If I had kids here, I don't know if I would stay. So I get it, you guys that have left, and because you have kids and you have your reasons, but I'm not abandoning this place. I love California, and I'm going to stay here as long as I can and fight these monsters. And it feels like California is making a turn, that there's a shift in mentality here, and people are realizing, like, you know what? These same monsters have been in charge for decades and everything keeps getting worse. Maybe it's time to change. And you saw how much California flipped red last election. I mean, it was still like a 60-40 split, but that's much better than a 70-30 split. And with, the no voter ID laws that we have, like it's illegal to ask for ID when voting, our sanctuary state situation, multiple weeks to count the ballots, universal mail-in ballots, all these things make our elections potentially ripe with fraud. I think our elections are 100% illegitimate and completely fraudulent. But, I can't really prove that. I've presented lots of evidence on this show to illustrate that, but can't prove it, I guess. I don't know. It seems like it's been proven, but I don't know. So there's Carl DeMaio's doing a big push right now to require voter ID. It's funny, though, because it's going to get put on the 2026 ballot if he can get enough signatures. And so, yeah, if you guys see that, sign the petition. But voter ID law would get put on the ballot to be voted on in California, but that election wouldn't require ID to vote. So it's just kind of ironic. So let's switch gears a little bit. Still talking California here, but we're gonna go over to a few different stories here. Let's go over to Kevin Riley. Listen to him talk about the high-speed rail boondoggle, because this thing is out of control. You guys know California high-speed rail project is absolutely out of control. So let's go over to Kevin Kiley here. And I call him Kevin Riley. I don't know why. Let's go over to Kevin Kiley and listen to him talk in front of the state. Oh, no, he's not talking in front of the state legislature. He's talking in Congress here. So let's listen to Kevin Kiley talk, shall we? He's somebody that is making a lot of points that need to be made. So, oh, sorry. Let me go back. My apologies. All right, Kevin Kiley, let's listen to him talk about the California high-speed rail money laundering operation. And I'm going to take a break while this video goes. I'll be right back.
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to provide an update on the non-existent high-speed rail project in California. As I've noted on this floor before, I've introduced a resolution or legislation to cut off all future federal funding for California high-speed rail. I was with Secretary Duffy when he announced an investigation into where the recent federal funding has actually gone, and I have called upon the FBI Director Kash Patel to launch an investigation into what happened to the $17 billion that has already been spent. At this point, the cost of the project is estimated to be about $100 billion more than it was initially sold to the public. But we did get some news this week, and maybe I've been a little too unkind to high-speed rail. The new CEO, and by the way, this is the 5th CEO, so there have been 5 more CEOs than there have been riders. 5 CEOs, 0 riders. The new CEO came out with some exciting news. He announced that he has a goal by the year 2045 of completing the line going from Palmdale to Gilroy. So let's parse that statement. A goal of 2045 going from Palmdale to Gilroy. Well, 2045 is, of course, 20 years from now. I'll note that when the project was passed in 2008, it was supposed to be done, the entire thing, by 2020.
And they have the hardest part of the project ahead of them. They have to go through 3 mountain ranges, giant tunnels that need to be bored. And there's a guy that happens to have a company that used to live in California, I don't know if he still does, called the Boring Company, that could have helped them with this. But anyway, they have the hardest part of the project still to go. And they're talking about 20 years from now, where the entire thing was already supposed to be done, billions of dollars over budget, and they want to have a line from Gilroy to Palmdale. So it's not including from San Francisco, where they've already built the transit center, and all the way to LA. So and the Merced line from Merced to Fresno, that's not supposed to be done for another 8 years. That's all flat area where it's the simplest part of the project. And that's going to be 13 years overdue. And just that section is likely going to cost more than the entire high-speed rail was supposed to cost, around $30 billion when it was first passed. This shit's insane. It's absolutely insane.
So the whole thing was supposed to be done 5 years ago, but now the CEO is saying, I've got an exciting, ambitious plan. We're going to have Palmdale to Gilroy completed in 20 years. And this is just the goal. There have been a number of goals in the past, in the tortured 17-year history of this project, and they've blown right past them, missing deadline after deadline with more cost overruns than we can even keep track of. And then finally, when you look at what his goal, which is very unlikely to actually be reached, is, it's to go from Palmdale to Gilroy. So where are these places? Remember, the initial project, it's supposed to ultimately go from Los Angeles to San Francisco, the 2 main population hubs of California. Well, Palmdale is...
And I got to say, when they first announced this project, and, I was, freaking 25 years old, younger than that, like 21 years old, I was excited about it. Being able to take a train from San Francisco to LA in like 2 hours, That sounds pretty freaking cool. And for it to be done before I'm 40 years old, yeah, that sounded pretty cool. Now, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. Northside over on Rumble, we got scammed. Sure did. Matty Bracco over on X. Newsom should be in jail, not just on the high-speed rail situation, not to mention the bonds for fighting homelessness. Oh, and the power grid. Yeah, the homeless industrial complex situation is another just massive money laundering operation. Every big project that the California government pushes for and gets massive amounts of funding for, this money is, I mean, how much are they straight up? Let's just call it what it is. How much money are they stealing from California taxpayers? Because California doesn't have a money printer. We don't have a state reserve. They can just print money. So this is all taxpayer funded money. And then we're robbing the rest of the country too, because we're getting massive federal funding behind this massive money laundering operation. They're stealing from us. And it's people belong in prison over this shit.
A ways away from LA. It's about 37 miles northeast of Los Angeles. So if traffic is good, it'll take you an hour in your car or 2 hours if you're using existing public transportation. So think about this. You're taking our high-speed rail, which, by the way, isn't going to be that fast. It'll probably be the slowest high-speed rail system in the world if it even gets built.
That too.
And then you get out at Gilroy and you have to somehow have a car there and drive another hour, or you hop on public transit for another 2 hours of travel just to get into LA. And it's similarly on the north part of it. Gilroy is 70 miles from San Francisco, and you'd be going for at least another hour, probably more. You'd certainly be driving more than an hour after hopping off there if you actually wanted to get into the city. So, of course, I'm being facetious when I say that this is an exciting, ambitious plan. It is just another example of why we need to end this project once and for all. There is absolutely no reason that state or federal taxpayers should continue to fund a project that is going absolutely nowhere, especially when our roads are in such bad shape, among the worst in the entire world. It's time to
It's funny you should mention that. Our roads are absolute shit, but a lot of our freeways, where the roads are still shit, have all these fancy new devices that can read your license plate, detect how many people you have in your car, and they've turned to the left lane, which is no longer a carpool lane. You just needed 2 passengers, some areas 3 passengers to drive in it previously. Now you have to have a fast track device, and they charge you by the mile. They charge you toll road charges. And California is trying to pass laws that would charge Californians for how many miles they drive per month or per year, however they're going to do it. They've already completed the testing phase of this, and I guarantee you that's what they're going to try to implement next. All they do is rob us blind.
redirect this spending towards transportation needs that will actually improve the quality of life for Californians.
Yep. Let's hear him. This is also from Kevin Kiley over here. Oh, jeez. So he says, this week the U.S. House representative will vote on our resolution to stop California gas car ban. This is a major step in Newsom-proofing California. So they're trying to get rid of what I talked about earlier. Gavin Newsom's trying to ban the sale of internal combustion engine vehicles by 2035 in California, which have a huge impact on the car market. But this is HJ Resolution 88. This is providing for congressional. So this isn't done in the state. This is done in the House. So providing for congressional disapproval of the rule submitted by the Environmental Protection Agency relating to California state motor vehicle engine pollution control standards, advanced clean air cars 2, waiver of preemption. So they're trying to get rid of that Gavin Newsom's scam or goal to outlaw internal combustion engine sales in the state of California. So I just asked Grok, I said, please give a comprehensive overview of the California high-speed rail project and include key dates, deadlines, and budget. So the phase 1, San Francisco to LA, is 494 miles. Phase 2 is extensions to Sacramento and San Diego, totaling 800 miles. Initial operating segment is a 171 segment from Merced to Bakersfield, prioritized due to funding constraints. It wasn't prioritized due to funding constraints. It was we were so behind schedule and so over budget that Gavin Newsom needed something to show for it. So he's like, you know what, let's just focus on this section where nobody wants to take a train from or to, where they already have a train going from Merced to Fresno. We already have a train there. This one's not going to be that much faster. And he just wanted to have something to show for it. So current status as of 25, construction is ongoing in the Central Valley with 119 miles under active construction. No tracks have been laid yet, but track laying is planned for 2026. Environmental clearances for 463 miles of phase 1 have been completed, and the Los Angeles-Anaheim section is pending. 1996, California High-Speed Rail Authority established a plan to oversee this project. So the California High-Speed Rail Authority has been around since 1996. November 2008, voters approved Proposition 1A, authorizing $9.95 billion in state bond funding for the high-speed rail and related rail improvements. The initial plan projected completion of phase 1 from San Francisco to LA by 2020 at the cost of $33 billion. So the whole project was supposed to cost $33 billion, and it was supposed to be done 5 years ago. 2013, construction contracts begin to be awarded. So we voted on this in 2008 and said, yeah, go for it. It took 5 more years for them to get construction contracts begin to be awarded. So not just contracts are awarded, that's when they just begun to be awarded. By January of 2015, groundbreaking ceremony marks the start of construction in Fresno. 2017, deadline to expand federal ARRA funds, forcing rushed construction contracts before full land acquisition and planning were completed. So they didn't even have the land acquisition completed yet. Like they had to buy people's land. The original deadline to complete the Central Valley segment by fall of 2017 was renegotiated to focus on spending funds. 2019, Governor Gavin Newsom shifts focus to complete the Merced-Bakersfield segment due to funding and political challenges. So he needed something to show for all this money we've wasted, promising to continue planning for the full route. In 2020, original completion deadline for phase 1, San Francisco to Los Angeles, missed due to delays, lawsuits, and cost increases. 2021, the Biden administration restores a $1 billion federal grant canceled by the Trump administration in 2019. 2023, so yeah, Trump said, no, you're not getting that $1 billion. Biden gave it back to him. In 2023, CHSRA released the 2023 project update report, estimating phase 1 costs. Get this, original cost of this entire high-speed rail from San Francisco to LA was supposed to cost $33 billion. Now, in 2023, they updated that figure to $88.5 billion on the low side. So the low side of this estimate is 3 times the initial budget for what they had for the entire project. And it could be, they're projecting it could be up to 128 billion. So over 4 times as much, almost 5 times as much as the original budget. Basically tacking on $100 billion to the original $30 billion estimate for this project. In December, federal government awards $3.1 billion for the project, part of a $8.2 billion in national rail funding. Okay, so the federal government decided they're going to give the entire country $8.2 billion for rail infrastructure throughout the entire country. California got $3.1 billion of that. They got almost half of that money towards this high-speed rail to nowhere. Unbelievable. California must have some good lobbyists in the federal government. Oh, wait, yeah, the most horrible federal government politicians come from California. How about that? June of 2024, environmental impact statement certified for 463 miles of the 494-mile phase 1 route, with Los Angeles and Anaheim still pending. So that's still pending in 2024. August, Ian Chowdhury becomes California High-Speed Rail Association CEO, announcing a project overhaul to cut costs and accelerate timelines. Okay, whatever. Hey. Knock it off. Knock it off. Sorry, this is a shoestring budget show over here, folks. So you get the occasional dog barking behind me. No set timeline. Completion of the full San Francisco to Los Angeles route remains uncertain due to funding gaps. So budget and funding, again, the original cost was supposed to be $33 billion. Funding plan, 1/3 of the state, $9.9 billion via Prop 1A, 1/3 of the federal grants, and 1/3 of private investors. Current cost estimates. So the current cost estimates from 2023 to 2025, phase one, $88.5 billion to $128 billion, with some estimates as high as $106 billion for San Francisco to Los Angeles alone. Unbelievable. Initial operating segment from Merced to Bakersfield. So just the Merced to Bakersfield line isn't supposed to be done until as late as 2033, and it will cost the entire budget of what was originally slated for the entire project. So the Merced to Bakersfield line is going to be 13 years late, and it's going to take the entire $30 billion budget. Unbelievable. Total project, including phase two, so that's the Anaheim and San Diego, or Anaheim and Sacramento lines, could be as much as $200 billion. Though this is speculative and not officially confirmed. Funds spent as of 2025. So what we've spent on this rail already is between 13 and 17 billion is what we've already spent. Primarily from state funds, 9.8 billion of Prop 1 bonds and federal grants. By 2023, 8.5 billion of the 9.95 billion Prop 1A bonds had been appropriated. Current funding sources are the state, 9.9 billion, and federal grants and bonds and whatever is 3.1 billion from the federal government. 3.5 billion from the federal government. Private investment, minimal to date. Private funding has not materialized as planned. Yeah, what person that runs a actual business to turn a profit is going to invest in this boondoggle after what they've seen? It's unbelievable. Yeah, there's no private funding behind it. Funding challenges. A 92.6 to 103.1 billion funding gap exists for the full phase one system. So we still need to come up with all this money. We don't have any way to pay for this big grandiose project that they have planned. We've already spent half of the initial budget. And so we still need another 15 billion just to finish the Merced to Fresno line that nobody wants. It's not even going to be a high-speed rail. So with at least 2.5 billion unfunded for the Merced to Bakersfield segment, I think if it's going to cost 30 billion, then they've already spent 17 billion. That $2.5 billion amount is very, very low. It seems like they're going to need more like 15 billion. Billion with a B. Inflation, rising construction costs, e.g. 47 to 53% increases in steel, rebar, and concrete post-COVID. Yeah, do we think steel and rebar is going to get less expensive in the next 10 years? This cost is going to just balloon and balloon and balloon, the estimated cost of this. Right now, they're saying the whole thing could be as much as 200 billion. Who knows what it's going to be in 10 years? It's 400 billion. This whole thing is insane. It is absolutely insane. The California High-Speed Rail Association peer review groups has questioned the project's financial viability and recommended an independent economic review. There you go. Progress. Construction 119 miles under construction in the Central Valley with 78 structures, blah, blah, blah. Jobs, over 14,500 jobs created. This didn't create jobs. It took from taxpayers to create all these jobs, and there were no bid contracts awarded to, unions that fund these politicians' political campaigns. This isn't jobs created. This is just robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's bullshit. All of it's bullshit. Economic impact, 21.8 billion in economic output and 8.3 billion in labor income by 2024. Okay, environmental clearance, 463 miles of phase one environmentally cleared by June of 2024. Track laying, and again, 5 years past when this project is supposed to be completed, not a foot of track has been laid. Track laying planned to begin in 2026 with materials being purchased in 2025. So they may not have even purchased the materials yet. Partnerships, collaboration with Bright. Where did all the money go? Where the hell did all this freaking money go? Collaboration with Brightline West and High Desert Corridor to create a regional high-speed rail network, potentially connecting to Las Vegas. Yeah, fucking in your dreams. Challenges, delays, lawsuits, slow land acquisition, environmental reviews. Yeah, your California environmental red tape bullshit reviews. And rush planning due to federal deadlines have pushed timeline back significantly. Cost overruns. Costs have tripled due to inflation. Right, and that's not going to keep happening over the next 10 years, right? With all the wars we're waging and money printing we're doing, I'm sure things are just going to get cheaper on their own. Scope challenges, for example, rerouting through Central Valley cities and poor initial planning. Oh, so they rerouted the line from what was initially planned? That's funny. Funding uncertainty, lack of private investment, and potential federal funds cut threaten the progress. Well, yeah, what smart private investor would actually invest in this thing? And potential federal funding cuts. Yeah, why would the federal government give another penny to this project? Unless they're in the pockets of California politicians. Political opposition, critics, including Republicans. Yeah, it's just the Republicans that don't want this, you guys. Bullshit. Critics, including Republicans like Kevin McCarthy and Vince Fong, argue this project is a waste of funds, some calling it for its termination. I'm calling for its termination, 100%. Management issues, early reliance on consults, inadequate risk management, and lack of oversight have been criticized. Yeah, I would say there's a small amount of lack of oversight. Public perception. While 54 to 86% of Californians support the project, bullshit. 2022 to 2025 polls is what they're basing that off of. Who did they poll? I didn't get polled. Approval varies by political affiliation with stronger Democratic support. Okay, so California is supposed to be like 70% Democrats, 75% Democrats, but only 54% of Californians support it. What does that tell you? It's not just Republicans that want this fucking boondoggle to go away. Critical analysis. The California High-Speed Rail project reflects both ambition and systematic challenges. Its vision to connect coastal hubs with Central Valley is economically and environmentally compelling. Sure it is. But execution has been hampered by governance failures, unrealistic initial projections, and political polarization. The decision to prioritize the Central Valley segment, while pragmatic given funding, has drawn criticism for its limited immediate utility compared to the San Francisco to Los Angeles route. Yeah, no shit. Who the hell wants to take a train from Merced to Fresno when we already have a train going from Merced to Fresno? Comparisons to other global high-speed rail projects, Germany's doubled cost, or UK's high-speed 2 quadrupling to 66 billion pounds, suggested cost overruns are not unique, but California's scale 100 billion short with no clear completed date stands out. The project's reliance on federal funds now under scrutiny, and the absence of private investment highlights its financial precarity. Yeah, how is this thing ever going to turn a profit? Proponents, including Gavin Newsom, argue it's a transformative investment for the Central Valley and California's climate goals. There it is. With significant job creation and economic output already realized. Economic output already realized when you're just taking taxpayer dollars and funding them through unions to put back in the pockets of politicians? Bullshit. This robbing Californians blind. However, point-to-point mismanagement and question its cost effectiveness, with some advocating for redirecting funds to other priorities like water infrastructure. Yeah, a little more important. Water infrastructure in California. Our reservoirs, our levees, we can't even keep many of our reservoirs at full capacity because of seismic reasons. The more I read, the more pissed I get. Future outlook. This is the kicker. 20 to 25, track laying begins. We begin laying track 5 years after the entire project was supposed to be completed. Billions of dollars over budget. and environmental clearances for the remaining phase 1 segments are finalized. The federal funding review will be critical. 2030 to 2033. If funding holds, the Merced to Bakersfield segment could become operational. Could become, so a lot of variables here there, folks. If they still get federal funding, by 2033, the Merced to Bakersfield segment could become operational. It might be done. The train that nobody wants from Merced to Bakersfield might be done 13 years past when it was supposed to be completed, and 30 billion over budget, whatever it is, that segment. Long term, completing phase 1 depends on securing 90 to 100 billion, likely requiring sustained federal support and new state funding mechanisms. New state funding mechanisms like charging you every mile you drive. Integration with Brightline West could enhance its regional value. I don't know what Brightline West is. You guys could search it in the comments and let me know what Brightline West is. The project's success hinges on overcoming political and financial headwinds, improving management, and maintaining public support. While progress is tangible, its ultimate progress is tangible. Okay, if you say so. Its ultimate realization remains unclear without a robust funding strategy. There it is, folks. Your high-speed rail in a nutshell. It's money laundering. They're robbing us blind. Nobody wants this train anymore. If you're a Californian and you're not pissed about the high-speed rail, you're not paying attention. This shit has got to go. All right, I think I'm done talking about the high-speed rail. Hey, if you guys are watching, give that if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, give it a like, leave a comment in the comments. I'd much appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. If you're watching on X, please leave a comment and repost the episode. I would like this show to grow. If you guys enjoy learning about things that are going on, if you like my show, like to help it grow, repost, comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, let's keep going here because I'm done talking about the freaking California high-speed rail. It pisses me off the more I talk about it. Okay, Matty Bracco, criminal. We were all mad about it. I hope so. Matty, stealing, yes, that's what Newsom was literally begging Trump for cornering him out at the White House and tarmacs to secure the money. Yeah, no shit. Again, Maddie over on X. Luckily, the fires in SoCal finally broke Gavin's image with liberals. It's crazy to hear how many people still don't like him in LA. Yeah. I just have a feeling with the way how fast the news cycle travels, just people will forget about it. Just people like Palisades, people won't forget about it, but nobody seems to be blaming Gavin for anything. Well, no, I shouldn't say nobody. There's definitely a lot of us that blame Gavin for a whole lot of things. So let's change gears a little bit. Let's go over to Mike Netter and let's talk about the homeless situation a bit because it's another boondoggle, you guys. Another giant money laundering operation, both with the non-governmental organizations that are handing out crack pipes and fentanyl needles that are paying their CEOs insane amounts of money, and the NGOs that are handing out these crack pipes and fentanyl needles that claim to be reducing harm. Their job is to end the homelessness crisis, right? But their jobs depend on the homeless crisis existing. So they have zero incentive to actually end the homeless crisis. And how ironic, everything they've done has actually made the problem worse. It's almost like they're not reducing harm. They're increasing harm in order to line their own pockets, if you ask me. Okay, it's from Mike Netter. He says, a new report from the United Ways of California shows that 35% of households across the state, more than 3.8, I'm sorry, this isn't about homelessness. 35% of households across the state, more than 3.8 million, don't earn enough money to cover basic living expenses. The report, called Breaking Barriers, Building Opportunity, the real cost measure of California 2025, analyzes households in all 58 counties and calculates what it actually costs to get by in California. It factors in the price of housing, childcare, transportation, healthcare, taxes, and food, offering a broader view of the federal poverty guidelines. California policies, high taxes, bad regulations, failed schools, bad roads, protecting illegal aliens, and demonizing victims. All of this makes California a poverty state. Gavin Newsom, maybe you should brag about this. And this is Mike Netter's piece that he's posting here. Gavin Newsom, maybe you should brag about this. Time the governor and many of the Democrats brought this conversation down to the press pulpit and to the people. Again, we at rebuildcalifornia.com and Netter News would be happy to have an open conversation with you in public about the state of our state. Time to face the true public and not just pundits in a contrived setting. Our door is open. Are you willing to enter the discussion? Can we get Gavin to take the challenge, sit down and speak to the people? We are serious. Staff DM me, spread this to get him to take the challenge. That's the thing too, is like even his most recent State of the State address, which is supposed to happen every year, and he didn't do one for like 3 or 4 years. Even that, he's supposed to stand at a podium live and give the State of the State address, which he doesn't do. He does a pre-recorded thing and he just releases it and calls it the State of the State address. It's bullshit. So that's Gavin Newsom for you. All right, this is okay. So you guys have heard about this this bill they're trying to pass that'll make it illegal. It becomes a human trafficking crime to purchase a 17 or 18-year-old for sex. Right, that's right. Prostitution of an underage child is not, it doesn't currently put you on the sex registry. So this is from Bill Mulligan, and guess who's defending it? Of course, it's Scott Wiener, the creepiest guy in all of government. So Senator Scott Wiener says, it's unbelievable. Like, he actually said this. Sending an 18-year-old high school senior to state prison for offering his 17-year-old classmate $20 to fool around isn't smart criminal policy. Yet that's what some people are effectively advocating for in this misleading debate. So Scott Wiener seems to think that high school students or 18-year-olds are propositioning girls that are, peers of these individuals, seem to be thinking that they're trying to pay them for sex. That's what Scott Wiener is saying. I don't know about you guys, but when I was in high school and the years after high school, I never thought to offer any females that were in my age group money for sex. I just tried to hit on them poorly. I wasn't very good at it. Still not really. But that's what Scott Wiener thinks happening. That young kids are just trying to pay each other for sex. That's what Scott Wiener thinks. So there's more comments, but I got a lot more to get through, so I'm gonna keep going here. Oh yeah, I'm already way over schedule. So this is again Scott Wiener talking in front of the state legislature. Just listen to this guy. Listen to his response from I don't know who's talking, but they're talking about like there's some big hang up in the California legislature where they don't want to make it like a sex offense, like a human trafficking offense for, a 40-year-old man to purchase a 16 or 17-year-old for sex. It's insane that we're even having this conversation, but let's listen to a little bit of what happened in the state legislature and then listen to Scott Wiener's response.
Good morning, Aaron Friday of Our Duty. We oppose unless amended. SB 337 needs to address the elephant in the room, trans-identified males in women's prisons. You cannot slap a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. To decrease sexual assaults of inmates, one must address all of the risk factors. I respect that Senator Menjivar recognizes that inmates should not be subjected to sexual assaults, that predacious guards and contractors should not use their authority to punish inmates above and beyond their sentences. But why? Why are you ignoring the threat that should never have been? The threat of men who believe that they are women able to physically and sexually abuse these females. This threat is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and for some females, the rest of their lives.
Oh, I'm sorry. This isn't about the purchasing underage kids for sex. This is about putting biological men in women's prisons. Because, yeah, California's doing that too. Scott Wiener defends it. sorry, just another insane thing that Scott Wiener pushes for.
A public records request revealed that 1 in 3 male inmates seeking to transfer to women's facilities are registered sex offenders. 45 males are currently locked up with females. That means 45 males sharing tiny cells with females that is locked up at night, that is unobserved most of the time. 45 bodies that can overpower the average woman, 45 males that roam freely in the yards, 45 males that can cause immediate fear in the female population, 45 males that will soon be 1,000 if all of them who are asking to be transferred are transferred. The hypocrisy of SB 337 without addressing the full panoply of known dangers must be called out. Vote no on SB 337 unless it's amended to include the trans-identifying males.
Just for the record, I don't subscribe to the view that we should somehow not protect folks from sexual violence by guards unless we also target and demonize trans people. I don't subscribe to that. I think it's ridiculous. And so
That's what you call a straw man. That's not what he should. You're not demonizing trans people by saying they can't be put in women's prisons. Notice how there's no discussion about biological women being put in men's prison. Why don't we see any trans men? That's what it is, right? Biological women that think they're men. Why don't we see any of them trying to go to men's prisons? Same thing in sports. Why don't we see any biological women who have transitioned to being men competing against men in men's sports? Why don't we see that? Because women aren't a threat to men and men are a threat to women. So you only see this going in one direction. Biological men competing against women. Biological men invading women's spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms. Biological men being put in prison cells, many of which are sex offenders, with women. And Scott Wiener is trying to say that this is us demonizing trans people. It's protecting women. Scott, you sick fuck.
So I moved the bill.
Piece of shit. He is such a piece of shit. I can't stand that guy. All right, let's keep going. Gavin Newsom says crime is down. Do you believe him? Let's see. Let's see what Gavin says about crime being down. Do you guys think crime is down? Does it feel like crime is down in California?
New data just came out showing a decrease in crime in 2024. Burglary is down 13.6%. Larceny
from when?
Is down 18.6% compared to pre-pandemic levels.
Oh, you mean from when you were still in office?
This is after a record $1 billion in state resources, unprecedented, focused on public safety, focused not only on local law enforcement, but investigations and prosecutions. We've also enhanced our organized retail theft task force, working.
Oh, you mean like Prop 37? That I think it was Prop 37 that you fought tooth and nail against to make it a actual crime. Remember, it was just a misdemeanor to steal anything below $950 worth of merchandise from retail stores. So people store employees couldn't stop people. So people just walking in, grabbing stuff, and then going right out and selling it on the streets, like in San Francisco. He fought tooth and nail against that to make it a felony. And now he's saying that, like, oh, it's because of him. It's because of him that retail crime's down, and when he did everything he possibly could to make retail crime worse.
With additional CHP officers, they've been involved in now over 3,700 investigations.
CHP stands for California Highway Patrol. They're supposed to be patrolling the highways, but he's had to redirect them to cities like Oakland to help cut down on crime because of things like, sideshows where they take over intersections and light cars on fire and shit like that.
Over 4,200 suspects have been arrested, and they've recovered 1.3 million stolen goods. We're also coordinating more effectively with local law enforcement in key areas to saturate and focus our law enforcement outreach to combat vehicle theft and also to focus on organized crime. By the way, that's resulted in 6,000 arrests and the recovery of over 4,500 stolen vehicles. This is all proof positive that public safety is best achieved through smart strategies, yes, but most importantly, strong partnerships.
Garbage human. Do you guys believe him? I don't believe him. Let's see what Grok says. So I asked Grok, when Gavin Newsom says crime is down, what metrics are he using to base that on? I should have said, is he using, but you guys get it. When California Governor Gavin Newsom claims crime is down, he primarily relies on metrics from sources like Public Policy Institute of California. So another California government organization is where he's getting his numbers from. And the California Department of Justice, which Rob Bonta, his henchman, is in charge of. Focusing on specific crime categories and timeframes, here are the key metrics he cited. Based on available information. Overall crime declines. Newsom has referenced a 4.6 decrease in violent crime and an 8.5 decrease in property crime in 2024 compared to 2023, as reported by the PPIC, based on real-time crime index data from 29 California law enforcement agencies. Specific crime categories shown declines in 2024 include robberies are down 5.2%, aggravated assaults are down 3.9%, which isn't a lot. Homicides are down 5.9%, vehicle thefts down 11.9%, burglary down 13.6%, and larceny is down 18.6%. Property crime in 2024 was reported to be 10.8% lower than pre-pandemic levels in 2019, with burglary and larceny showing significant drops. Comparison to historical trend, Newsom has claimed that California crime rates are near historic lows, emphasized that overall crime is substantially lower in the 1990s, for example. He has stated that violent crime is near a 50-year low, though this claim has been contested due to selective framing. He offers current crime rates to the high crime periods of the 1980s and 1990s to highlight long-term declines, even when short-term trends may show increases. So there it is. There's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics. Organized retail crime. Newsom points to successes in combating organized retail crime, citing California high-speed patrol data in 2024. The CHP recovered over 13 million in stolen goods and arrested more than 1,400 suspected statewide, with early 2025 operations yielding 209 arrests and nearly 2.2 million in recovered items. These enforcement metrics are used to underscore proactive efforts, particularly in high visibility areas like retail theft, selective regional data. Newsom has highlighted crime drops in specific regions, such as the Bay Area, claiming declines of over 30% in certain crime categories. However, these claims have faced scrutiny for not aligning with local data, particularly in areas like Alameda County, where violent crime has risen significantly. Even though they say crime is down in Oakland, they do the same shit over there. Critics and context. Data reporting issues. Critics argue that Newsom's claims may be misleading due to underreporting of crimes, which, when you decriminalize things, why would people even call? Like if somebody breaks into their car and breaks their window, why would they even call the cops? Nothing's going to happen. Changes in crime classification and reduced arrests for prosecutions following the Proposition 47 in 2014, which reclassified some felonies as misdemeanors. For instance, property crimes are often underreported because victims see little chance of prosecution. There you go. Violent crime increases. Despite Newsom's claims, FBI data for 2023 showed a 3.6 increase in violent crime in California. There you go. Driven by rises in robberies and assaults, even as homicides and rapes declined. This contrasts with the national trend of declining violent crime. So crime's getting worse in California, where it's getting better throughout the rest of the country. Proposition 36 funding. Newsom's administration has been criticized for not funding Proposition 36. Like I said earlier, he was against that, which aims to increase penalties for certain theft and drug crimes. Critics argue this undermines efforts to address crime effectively, potentially skewing perceptions of crime trends. Homicide trends. While Newsom cites declines in homicides for 2024, earlier data shows a significant spike, with homicides rising 31% from 2019. 31%! Holy shit! From 2019 to 2020, and remaining 5.9 higher in 2024 than in 2019 major cities. So homicides have skyrocketed. So this is the conclusion that Grok came up with. Newsom's claims about crime being down are based on selective metrics, such as PPIC's 2024 data showing declines in violent crime and property crime, CHP enforcement successes, and long-term comparisons to the 1990s. However, these claims are contested due to rising violent crime in certain areas, e.g. 2023, underreporting issues, and regional disparities. Critics on platforms like X argue that challenges in crime reporting and prosecution practices create a false perception of declining crime. For a comprehensive view, one should consider both the reported declines and the broader context of the data reliability and enforcement challenges. So there you go. Gavin's fucking lying like he always does with statistics. It's just how he's lying. He asked the California government to come up with numbers that make it look like crime is declining when everybody in California, especially in the cities, can see crime is not freaking declining. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit to more California insanity. So California is notorious for, let me check the chat here really quick. North side over on Rumble, Coach, you are far behind. You need to do a 24-hour stream to catch up all night until work starts tomorrow. I don't think so, buddy. I don't think so. I got to be up at 5. Because I am an empath, I can sense that Coach hates this. I'm not saying that word, Scott Wiener. Yes, I do. I'm not a fan of Scott Wiener. So California is notoriously a gun grabber state with some of the most draconian firearm policies in the nation, if not all of the nation. Maybe New York might beat us, but California is a much bigger state. They tried to ban like AR-15s or assault rifles, even though they can't define what assault rifle is. Well, they're taking it to a whole new level. You guys have seen the buttons that they put on the back of Glock switches or auto sears. They make a Glock pistol fully automatic, essentially. Just hold down the trigger, empty the magazine. You see them in the hood. That's where you see them, where the guns are already illegal. The people that have these are already illegal. And keep in mind, those buttons that you put on the back of Glocks are already illegal. They're already illegal to own those. So what's California's genius solution for getting rid of Glock switches? We'll just make Glocks illegal. They're really trying to do this. They're really trying to make semi-automatic pistols, not just Glocks, any semi-automatic pistol where you can put one of these buttons on the back to make it fully automatic. They're trying to outlaw pistols. No joke.
Hey, everybody, it's Michael Schwartz with Gun Owners Radio. If you haven't heard, AB 1127
So search it. Assembly Bill 1127, California. Search it. They're trying to outlaw pistols.
It's a bill that was voted on just this past week in the Judiciary Committee of the Assembly. AB 1127, no exaggeration, will ban the sale of all Glocks and similar pistols in the state of California. Not an exaggeration. If this thing passes, you will not be able to purchase a Glock in the state of California. It's an extremist bill, and it did pass through the Judiciary Committee, and it is moving its way through the Assembly. Well, there's one person I want you to focus on. Her name's Diane Dixon. She's actually the vice chair of the Judiciary Committee, and she's a Republican out of Orange County.
So a Republican is behind this, a California Republican.
She refused to vote against the bill. When I called her office and asked her staff why, they wouldn't give me an answer. They just said that she'd have an opportunity to vote on the bill again. Diane Dixon is also running for County Board of Supervisor in Orange County. We need to send her a message that her next vote needs to reflect that she is with the Second Amendment community, or we will not vote for her for re-election in the Assembly, let alone moving on to the County Board.
So you hear that, Orange County? Any Orange County listeners, Diane Dixon, hit up her office, let her know that what are you doing? You're siding with the Democrats on a super draconian gun grabber bill. Diane Dixon out of Orange County, hit her up. Let her know how you feel.
Of Supervisors. Down at the bottom of this in the description, you're going to see the phone number, and you're going to have a link to click on so that you can send an email. I need you to call her office. Let them know that, hey, she needs to vote against AB 1127, and I need you to send her an email and say, hey, you need to vote against AB 1127. Her number is 949-798-7221. Call and email today. Let all your friends know to do the same. Don't wait. Thank you so much. This is activism.
So this is really happening, folks. So this is what the actual text of the bill looks like here. So I got this paragraph highlighted down here. So this bill would prohibit a licensed firearms dealer to sell, offer for sale, exchange, give, transfer, or deliver any semi-automatic convertible pistol except as specified. For these purposes, the bill would define convertible pistol as any semi-automatic pistol that can be converted into a machine gun solely by the installation of an attachment, or of a pistol converter and pistol converter as any device or instrument that, when installed in or attached to the slide of a semi-automatic pistol, interferes with the trigger mechanism and thereby enables the pistol to discharge a number of shots or bullets rapidly or automatically with one continuous pull of the trigger. So there they go. The Glock switches, again, the Glock switches, buttons, auto sears are already illegal. They're already illegal. So what's their solution to get people to stop using them? Outlaw the mechanism that they're attaching to. The gun, the pistol, the semi-automatic pistol. That's what they're trying to outlaw in California now. The conspiracy theorist in me is almost like, maybe they flooded the streets of California with all of these buttons, all these auto sears, and, got all the gang members to use them so they can point at them and say, look, we need to outlaw pistols now. I'm not saying that happened, but wouldn't be surprised if it did. So yeah, that's happening too, folks. That is happening too. Shit's all freaking insane. All of this California madness, though. It's like, I spend a couple of hours putting these shows together, and I just get, topic after topic. And when I go back to back with so many different topics, it's like overwhelming. It's infuriating because you see all the different insane things California's doing, like back to back. And it boggles your freaking mind. It boggles my mind. I don't know about you guys. All right, let's keep going here. Let's go over to Betty U. Let's talk about some San Francisco stuff before I get out of here. I got like 13 minutes left. I was doing a full 2-hour show tonight, folks. I apologize, but there's just too many California topics to cover. I'm not even going to get to Oakland or the border that I wanted to talk about. There's a bunch of border situations going on that I wanted to talk about as well. I wanted to talk about LA. I want to talk about Oakland, LA, border stuff, but I'm not even going to have time to get to it. So we're just going to get to San Francisco stuff for tonight. So let's go over to Betty U here, and she points out another store has shut down. So Saks in Fifth Avenue. The Saks, the Fifth Avenue store will close by May 10th of 2025. We have made this decision as part of our integration process as we focus on long-term growth. So look at that. Saks of Fifth Avenue is closing in San Francisco. Let's go over to Mark Joffe here. Great follow over on X. That's at JOFFEMD. Mark Joffe. I've talked to him on some spaces before. Solid Californian, just a solid dude. So he points out that he predicted this back in July of 2024. Saks of Fifth Avenue went to appointment-only shopping because they're such a high-end store. Everything they sell is super expensive. I can't shop there. So they were getting robbed. So what they do? They went to appointment-only shopping. This is back in July of 2021. So Mark Joffe predicted back then, appointment-only shopping won't work at San Francisco's Saks Fifth Avenue, and the store will close, leaving another gaping hole in the Union Square. So he said that back in July of 2021, and then boom. So on April 23rd, he said, appointment-only shopping has not worked out for Saks Fifth Avenue on Union Square, and it will close by May 10th. So he called it. So he saw the writing on the wall when Saks Fifth Avenue kept getting robbed, and they decided to go to appointment-only shopping. Didn't work. Didn't make it, folks. So another one bites the dust. Another San Francisco store bites the dust. So to put it in perspective, let's take a look at all of the stores that have closed in San Francisco since COVID started, since the homeless took over every corner of San Francisco except for Pacific Heights and Presidio Heights, where all the rich politicians live that are creating the policies destroying the city. Well, this is a look at all of the stores. This probably isn't even all of them, but a lot of the stores that have closed in San Francisco. San Francisco used to be a shopping hub. It used to be a bustling, beautiful city. I mean, San Francisco's always had problems, but it was a great place to go for the longest time. I grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up in San Jose. And as a 14-year-old kid, I would take the train from San Francisco. This is before cell phones. This is, I mean, not before cell phones, but I didn't have a cell phone. I had a pager, I think. 2000, when I was, like 2000, in like 1999, 2000, I would take the train from San Jose all the way to San Francisco, and I would just spend the weekend with my buddy Lauren, who lived up there. And he lived at the top of the hill in the Castro district. His dad was rich. And I mean, we had a blast. My dad didn't know what I was doing, where I was. He just wanted me to check in with them with a phone call every day. That's it. Would any parent allow their 14-year-old kid to take the train to San Francisco and spend the weekend with their buddy nowadays? I mean, if I had a kid, I wouldn't. That's how things were back then. Things were safe. Well, San Francisco is not the same place. So let's take a look at all the stores that have shut down in San Francisco in the last 5 years. Gap, gone. Nordstrom Rack is gone. Saks on Fifth Avenue is gone. Abercrombie and Fitch is gone. Nordstrom's is gone. Anthropology's gone. Aldo is gone. Oakley's gone. Old Navy's gone. GameStop's gone. CB2 is gone. The Container Store is gone. The Disney Store is gone. Uniqlo is gone. St. Laurent is gone. The Ordinary's gone. H&M's gone. Scotch and Soda's gone. Marmot's gone. Steve Madden's gone. Marshall's is gone. Tap 41's gone. Century Theaters are gone. Whole Foods closed down. Yeah, that wasn't even all of them. There's a bunch more. They're gone. It's such a freaking shame. I mean, to the local economy, to just the local nightlife. I mean, there's a guy on X. He goes by the handle Domestic Terrorist, and he's in San Francisco, and he's constantly going out in the evening time and just taking footage of like areas that used to be just popping off. Like clubs are full, live music, bars are full, events all over the place. People are shopping, having a great time. Things are safe, and the areas are just dead now, just completely freaking dead. It's so sad what has happened to San Francisco. San Francisco was a gem. I mean, parts of it still are. I mean, it's still beautiful, especially if you stay along the bay and along the coast, but it's terrible what has happened to this damn city, man. I loved San Francisco growing up. I mean, part of me still does. I mean, it's still an amazing place when you go there, but it's not like the nightlife isn't the same. The shopping experience isn't the same. Hotels, all of it. It's just everybody's struggling to get by. Mom and pop stores can't survive. Yeah, it's sad. So, and one of the really bad areas in San Francisco happens to be around the Federal Building, the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building. So, what does Trump plan on doing here? Trump's talking about selling Nancy Pelosi's Federal Building. That's it. Trump is talking about selling Nancy Pelosi's Federal Building. So let's listen to this report on the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building being potentially sold by Donald Trump.
White House is looking to sell the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building on 7th Street and the century-old building at 50 United Nations Plaza. The Trump administration says it will save money by avoiding maintenance on the buildings, selling the properties, then leasing office space for federal workers. Former Congresswoman Jackie Spears says it's just about vengeance.
It's another example of how he's coming after Democrats, he's coming after California, and it's all about payback.
Good.
White House is looking to sell the Nancy Pelosi.
Good. He's talking about reopening Alcatraz too. I don't have anything pulled up for that, but I mean, I don't think that's a good idea. I almost think it's like a troll that he's trying to troll Gavin Newsom, but yeah, he's talked about reopening Alcatraz. So here's a post from Jack Downing just to illustrate why Donald Trump is considering selling the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building. Because look at it. Look at the state of this place. This is what it looks like outside the building.
The moment we arrived on 7th Street and Mission, we found a group gathered in front of the federal building. Do you realize you're in front of a federal building and you're doing drugs? They don't care, you say.
You tell us to come here and do them.
They said that you can come and do it? Another man showed us his
Harm reduction.
paraphernalia, which included aluminum foil and a straw typically used to smoke fentanyl. Can you explain what this is?
What's that?
That.
This is fentanyl picking up off the ground.
Keep in mind, folks, he got that from non-governmental organizations that are paid by the city to hand out the drug paraphernalia and then go do drugs at the federal building. Like, this is the shit that's happening. It's mind-boggling that this is where we've gotten to. But notice, I don't know if you guys can see this on this ledge right here, this ledge that they're sitting on. You see how it has these blocks, these metal blocks that they put on the ledges? That's to prevent skateboarders from skating those ledges. But you could do crack on them, you just can't skateboard on them. That's the state of California.
He gave his 2 unused needles to another man. So are you using fentanyl or heroin here?
No, I shoot fentanyl and crystal together.
Because from my understanding, you can't find heroin anymore. All that's available is fentanyl and crystal meth.
That blasé behavior no longer surprises the security at the federal building. Guards occasionally come out to ask them to move. One guard told me off camera, that's all they can do.
Like, look at that. They're like right on camera. This chick's freebasing right off the foil. Like, the news anchors come around and they record them just freebasing crack or fentanyl right out in public. Like, how insane is this? If you would have told anybody from California 15 years ago that it would just be okay to go and openly smoke crack, not only on the streets of San Francisco, but at the federal building, they would have told you you're fucking insane, because you would have got busted for smoking a joint on the streets of San Francisco when I was a kid. But now you can free base crack in front of the federal building. And Gavin Newsom was the mayor. Remember, mayor, lieutenant governor, governor of California. His whole tenure as a politician has gone from California in the 90s to being the place that everyone wanted to be to what it is now, a place that everyone is fleeing. That's what Gavin Newsom has done to California.
All they can do. This is a daily occurrence.
Yes, every day.
So much so that the Chronicle reported that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which has a regional office here, has told its employees to work from home in light of the conditions at the federal building. Supervisor Matt Dorsey lives nearby.
We're not solving anything if we don't solve police staffing.
Dorsey says he knows of another situation involving the daycare center used by federal employees here.
They were sharing with me that they are doing everything they can to hire people to do childcare work. And among 18 or 19 applications, a large majority of them decided that they had no interest in working here once they found out what the location was.
The federal government spent $3 million making improvements to the outside of the building, which included a galvanized steel fence to keep the plaza free of drug users and the unhoused. But it's clear.
The unhoused. See, that's like the little propaganda wordplay that they do. They don't call them homeless anymore. And they used to call them bums. They don't call it, then they changed it to homeless. And now they say unhoused. It's the same thing. They're the same people, but they just want to try to plant the seed in your brain that all they need is a home. All these people that are just freebasing fentanyl on the streets, all they need is a home, you guys. Wouldn't you want to let them into your home? Maybe we should just build them a home and put them in there, because then they'll stop freebasing fentanyl, right?
Clear to anyone that the benches outside provide people with a chance to gather and stay.
California love. Yep, that is the state of California, folks. I don't know. I call them bums, North Side. Yeah, well, I call them junkies personally. That's what I call them. But and you hear people saying, like, don't shame them, don't shame the homeless. Why not? Why not shame people that are openly smoking meth and fentanyl and heroin or crack or whatever the hell it is? Why not shame those people? Shame at a certain level is healthy. Like shame can go a long way, you know? Like I was ashamed that I was addicted to alcohol. I was ashamed that I was an athlete all my life, but somehow I allowed myself to become a drunk that was overweight and couldn't run around the block anymore. And I got enough shame by watching, shows like Joe Rogan. I started watching Joe Rogan's show in 2014, and I saw these amazing people that are coming on, people that are running 100 miles in 24 hours, and hunters that could perform physical tasks that I couldn't perform at the time, and people like Jordan Peterson, who ironically blocked me on X because I said he's willfully ignorant about Israel, and he blocked me. But I read 2 of his books. I've listened to probably over 100 hours of Jordan Peterson talking, and his book and what he talked about cleaning your room and controlling your monster, be a monster, a controlled monster. The things he said really helped me to quit drinking, start trail running, and do things that I never thought I'd be able to go out and run 40 miles. That's the longest run I've done to date, is run 40 miles. And it wasn't even a race. Me and my best friend just decided to go out and do it on October 17th of 2021. That's the anniversary of the 89 earthquake. And we had a bucket list. Him and we said we were going to run a marathon. I've run like 4 marathons now. I've run like 5 50K races. I ran the 40-miler. I'm trying to get back into shape where I could do some more races again, but I keep getting hurt. But that's not the point. Just listening, being shamed, being appropriately shamed for the piece of shit that I'd allow myself to become, I became a better person. Why not shame people that are shooting up and smoking crack on the streets? I'm not saying to belittle them and try to, call them horrible names just for the sake of calling them horrible names, but telling them like what you're doing is destroying yourself and it's destroying the environment around you. And it's important that you at least try to get clean, try to better your life and make a living, and maybe even start a family. There's people that have turned their lives around. There's people that were homeless and junkies on the streets that have become wonderful, productive members of society. But we're told not to shame people. It's ridiculous. It's absurd that we're not supposed to, like, fat shaming. The funny thing is, the people that tried to talk about healthy at any weight and demonize the people that are supposedly fat shaming, when all fit people want for overweight people is for them to start doing difficult things and improving their lives. Because if they improve their life, it's going to improve the lives of people around them. They're going to live longer for their kids. Shame serves a purpose. And I'm tired of people saying, don't shame people, because it's not even what they're doing. They're not even shaming them. They're pointing out and saying this behavior that you're participating in is bad for you, and it's bad for the people around you. It's bad for your family and the people that love you. We want you to get better. That's the opposite of what they're doing. They're saying you're fine the way you are. You're fine being fat and you're going to die early, but that's okay. You're healthy at any weight. You're fine smoking crack. We're going to reduce harm by not shaming them. We're going to give them the tools they need to slowly kill themselves on the streets. It's ridiculous. These progressive policies, this progressive ideology is destroying California. And I think everybody can see it now. At least I hope so. All right. That's the end of my rant. That's the end of the show, you guys. That's all I got for tonight. I need to unplug. I rolled my ankle last week and I haven't been able to run for the last few days. And that's how I decompress. I go out, I completely unplug. I'm just in nature and getting my endorphins going, and it makes me a better human. And when I'm done, I'm ready to face the world again. So I encourage all you guys to find something like that too. It doesn't have to be running. It could be going to the gym. It could be jujitsu. It could be helping your community, whatever. But get out in nature, get your heart rate up. All that stuff's going to make you a better human. All of it. Nature, elevated heart rate every day. You'll become a better person. You'll become a better human, and the world will become a better place. So thank you guys all for hanging out tonight. Wally World, Matty Bracco over on Rumble, Northside over on Rumble. I'm sorry, Matty Bracco over on X. Who else we got here? I think that's all I got in the chat tonight. So again, if you made it all the way to the end of the show, please hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you on Sunday evening at 7 o'clock. But before we get out of here, you know how we do it. We got to tell a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. Let's see. What do we got tonight? I hope it's a good one. Okay. Okay, here we go. Chuck Norris joke of the evening. This is what we got for tonight. Chuck Norris once tobogganed down Mount Everest and sprinted back to the top when he realized he had lost his mittens. And on that note, stay CaliBased.